BrainHuddle is one of our initiative to provide a platform for the expert to share about their field of expertise and experience with us. Before that, let me brief you a bit about PMCC. At PMCC, we provide project management and consulting services such as project management, commercial management, contracts and claim and disputes, EPCM, requirement management, planning and training. If you wish to find out more about our services, kindly visit our website at pmcc-corporation.com. Right, back to business for today. Let me introduce you to our speaker of the day, Glodon expert, Mr. 𝗪𝗂𝗂𝘁𝘂𝘁, who is a customer success consultant at Glodon, Malaysia, with 4 years of experience specializing in the customer service line. For today's BrainHuddle session, Esther is going to talk about optimizing efficiency, integrating technologies in contractor workflows, how Glodon Cubicost software can empower contractor. I'm more than excited to hear further on this, and I believe same as you. Before we begin, let us go through the house rules. You are encouraged to switch on your camera so that we can see you and interact with the speaker to get the most of this experience. Do please mute yourself unless instructed otherwise, and post your question in the chat box if you have any questions, and I will read through those questions at the end of after Chester finished the briefing. Without further ado, I pass the floor to the speaker. Chester, goes to you.
Thank you, Azila, for the introduction. So thank you for the opportunity for allowing me to share on the solution provided by my company. So a quick introduction of who am I, so on what I actually do basically. So again, my name is Chester. I'm one of the customer success consultant from Glodon, Malaysia. So mainly I provide trainings and also provide technical support, and lastly project guidance to my users, should I say to my clients. So for those clients who actually newly purchase our product, I'll be the one who will be there for them and also guide them. And in terms of, that will be in terms of technical discussion, whereas for project guidance, for those who newly adopt our software, they are clueless on what they need to do or how to start, I'll be there for them to actually share my experience on how to kickstart based on their actual project. All right. So if you have any inquiries on our software, feel free to contact us at our email, which is service.smile@global.glodon.com, or you can also contact me at my personal number 01473979954. All right. So without further ado, let us begin our today's sharing. All right. So in today's sharing, right, the main takeaway is understanding the Cubicost workflow, followed by comparison between current practice versus Cubicost adoption. So we do a little bit of comparison between the conventional ways, such as using Excel, and what is the difference within Excel and using our Cubicost software, followed by the effectiveness of 5D BIM cost management. So these are the key takes away from today's sharing. All right. So first of all, Cubicost adoption in pre and post contract stage. So before I proceed, right, I would like to share with you what are the solutions that Glodon actually provides. First of all, these are the 4 products that we mainly provide: TAS, TRB, TBQ, and TME. So TAS basically mainly taking off for architectural and structural. TRB, which is the blue icon, more on rebar. TBQ is prepare BQ, or for contractor, will be using our TBQ software to do the pricing, followed by TME, which is more on the main M&E works where you can do taking off. All right. So these are the 4 solutions that Glodon actually provides. So this is a chart that I actually created in the sense that how our software can actually impact in each and one of the stages during pre and post contract. So here we have consultant. You can act this as a main, I'll say main contractor, and this will be our subcon. So let me open up a file for you to take a look. Give me a moment, huh? So as you can see here, this is a chart that I've created in the sense that it's a flow from pre-contract up to post-contract. How can our software actually help you each and one of the stages? All right. So basically, quantity take-off, which means you can actually utilize our TS and TRBC to actually do the measurement. And then followed by BQ preparation. This is where you can actually price in your BQ, basically, in terms of contractors. But this one, as you can see here, is for consultant. But no worries, the workflow can be implemented in contractor side too. And then once you've done your BQ preparation, or should I say you pricing for your BQ, next you can actually link those quantity to your BQ, and followed by you can actually do your pricing. And again, our TBQ software also have e-tender. So in the sense that when you're dealing with a consultant that actually using our software, right? They are able to prepare e-tender, which is what we call a BQD file. So for those contractors who actually have our software, right, they can actually import it into our TBQ software and begin pricing. Okay, so once they begin pricing, they can submit their tender submission, and then the QS will actually evaluate and then see, and hopefully you get awarded with the project. All right, so now down to the post-contract. Now this is more focused on main con. So as you can see here, design and build optimization. So you can actually utilize our software if there is any, changes in your drawings and all. You can utilize our software to actually make those changes and then actually directly able to see the quantity impact. Okay, then bulk quantity procurement, you can utilize a feature which later on I'll show to you all how can we actually do bulk quantity procurement. Followed by, you can also extract out, like for example, during our post-contract, we do have progress claim and so on and so forth. You can actually utilize our software to actually do it. Or other than that, will be, for example, you have multiple subcon. You can also, segregate those quantity accordingly based on those subcon. All right. Then in terms of progression, like I said, you can use our TS and TRB software to actually do it. And followed by variation order also can be done. And you can also share those models up to our cloud, whereas those, parties that do not have our software, they can actually access to it and also able to view those models. And followed by, lastly, which is remeasurement. If this flow is actually followed accordingly, right? Basically, when it comes down to remeasurement, there's no need to do remeasurement anymore because your model itself and your quantity itself is already up to date. All right. And with that said, operation and maintenance data, and that's it. Okay. So that will be the pre and post contract. So followed by, the next thing is why BIM? What's the purpose of BIM? Why do we need to do this? Why do we need to implement this so-called BIM flow? And what is the main benefit out of it? So as you can see here, right, in this chart, right, there's conventional way and there's this BIM approach. So let's us take this opportunity to take a look on conventional way. How does it actually work? So as you can see here, there's a clear cut. Design comes first, then after that, only construction. With this chart itself, right, we can directly see that, right, during design stage, right, how should I say, contractor is not actually involved in that particular stage. And with that stage itself, right, when both parties are not communicated at the early stage, right, they only, or should I say, one of the parties join after, right, there will be bound to have a lot of, for example, miscommunication. That will be the number one issue, miscommunication, or the workability within that design itself. So with that said itself, when both did not communicate in the early stage, but only after you communicate, that itself, right, is going to cause a lot of, errors at the end. And in construction industry, those errors, right, can be solved. Yes, no issue. However, you tie back to cost. So if using BIM, right, this BIM process, right, able to simplify, right, to actually create an environment, a platform where allows everyone to stay communicate since the early stage, since the beginning, from design and construction concurrently. Everyone is actually communicate. everyone can able to receive the latest information. So by doing so, right, everyone is communicated, then the error will be reduced greatly. Again, when there's error in construction, yes, can be solved, but you require cost. Okay, so these are the case study that our software can able to actually provide you all. So as you can see here, this is small to TME, this is TAS, and these are TRB that our software can actually do. Okay, so tender bidding preparation. How are you able to utilize all this software during tender bidding preparation? So there's a tendering checklist. So what are the checklists that we require to go through? So first of all, type of contract bidding. So we need to understand the type of contract that we're going to bid for, because that is going to dictate how are we going to do, do the pricing and so on and so forth. Next, strategy based on contract types, quantity checking method, followed by tender costing and pricing, and lastly, electronic tender platform. So these are the tendering checklists that we have to go through first. So let us go through a little bit of background on the types of contract biddings. There are several types of contracting approach between owner and contractor, and each support different project environments and project approaches. It is a must to understand what type of contract of bid, what type of contracts for bid and procurement when receiving a tender, in order to know what are the strategy adopt using Cubicost. So we need to understand what kind of contract we are actually dealing with. That way we can actually tailor our Cubicost workflow to it. Okay, so the pain point. So in Malaysia, right, I will focus on Malaysia. So during the tendering period, right, it's always short. It's about 2 to 3 weeks, and 3 weeks is arguable. So normally it's about 2 to 3 weeks. So contractor QS seldom has the time for detailed measurement. So basically, whatever they receive from the tender, right, tender document, whatever quantity being measured by the QS, right, they will just follow as is, or they will just do those measurement that is going to impact the most. And then contractor QS often rely on consultant QS quantity found in the tender PQ. And then lastly, consultant QS tender PQ quantity mostly are provisional, and the risk is actually on contractor. Due to 2 to 3 weeks, you want to actually model, or should I say, measure a massive project. For example, in Malaysia, our land is actually, or should I say KL, the land is actually quite limited. So majority of the project will be mixed development. So the project itself, right, the nature of itself is actually quite massive. So when it comes down to that, right, when it comes down to taking off itself, right, it is really time consuming. So therefore, 2 to 3 weeks, right, is not going to be sufficient for you to actually check through one by one on those quantities that provided to you. Is it reliable? Is it trustworthy or not? So therefore, those risks, right, is actually catered to contractor. All right. So these are the types of contract that normally Malaysia will have, like for example, traditional general contracts, design and build. And then in terms of contract for pricing arrangement, lump sum or fixed price contract, time and material contract, cost plus contract, unit pricing contract. And in terms of the standard form of contract will be, in terms of government, will be JKR, PWT, and then private sector will be building works in terms of PAM 2006 with quantity, civil work is INECE 1/89, and even M&E works is TMB condition. So these are the standards one that we normally use in Malaysia. So why do we actually have to go through all these PAMs and all in terms of the contracts? Because I would like to bring up one important point. Contract or pricing arrangement, we have, for example, these 4 types: lump sum or fixed price contract, time and material contract where scope is not clear, cost plus contract, unit pricing contract. For example, these 4, we can't run away from one thing. Quantity is a basis of cost estimation, regardless is it multitude or magnitude. So you can't run away from quantity. You can't run away from measurement. So by using this 5D BIM solution, how can we help you to increase your efficiency when it comes down to measurement? All right. So how to utilize Cubicost software in different types of contracts. All right. So again, this chart also would like to bring out the urgency of why is it using 5D BIM solution is so important in terms of regardless what kind of contract you are actually facing, you still can't run away from the basis of you require to do measurement right? So these are the urgency that I would like to bring up. All right. So again, quantity checking method. Background. For prior project, most of the client will appoint consultant QS for tender document preparation, inclusive of BQ with provisional quantities. Followed by, during tender stage, right, contractor QS also receive tender BQ with provisional quantity and whole stacks of drawing, either hard copy or PDF soft copy. All right. And then contractor QS responsibility to make sure the rationality of the BQ provisional quantity will be formed part of the contracts. So the pain point is still ties back to what I've shared just now. During your during your tender stage, right? The duration for contractor to do the bidding is very short. And if the nature of the project that you're actually dealing is actually very big, you do not have the time to actually check, to actually reduce down your risk. The only thing you can do is you can only go through those trades that is going to bring a big impact in terms of the pricing. We will actually go through that. And then those miscellaneous items, we do not have the time to actually go through it. We can only trust whatever the QS consultant provided to us. Okay. So how do you actually do the quantity checking method? So these are the things: quantification and report. You need to focus on these few aspects. All right. Quantification and reporting, drawing source, method of modeling, and also live link quantity. So in terms of your Cubicost software, how are we going to play around with this? So first, you need to understand, in current Malaysia market, right, we have two types of drawing. It's either 2D drawing, and recently we'll be focusing more on 3D drawing, all right? But still, at the end of the day, we're still using 2D drawing for now, all right? So in terms of 2D drawing, we have hard copy, there's soft copy, vector PDF, AutoCAD type, IFC format, AutoCAD type. And then for 3D drawing, we have IFC format, GFC format, or the most famous one, Revit format. Okay. So how are software able to help you in each and one of it? So basically, TS, TRB, TMB can cater both 2D drawing and 3D drawing. All right. But then again, in terms of 2D drawing, right, if you have CAD drawing or vector PDF, and also basically this vector PDF and also AutoCAD drawing, right? We have this function called auto identify method and auto. So with that said itself, right, it is much more efficient. But in terms of if you have hard copy or soft copy, we do have methods to actually cater for it. Then now let's talk about 3D drawing. So when it comes down to 3D drawing, right, the most famous one, Revit format. Can we actually communicate with other software? Yes. For example, Revit, we can actually import Revit, the model into our software and then quantify it. And then also there's also this argument stating that, hey, I already have Revit. Why do I need to purchase your software? Because Revit itself also do provide us quantity. Yes, Revit do provide us quantity, but we have one thing extra compared to Revit, where our software is actually embedded with the local rules, which is SAM2. All QS measurement is actually being governed by SAM2. So therefore, Revit, yes, they do provide you quantity, but Cubicost software bring it to the next step, which is they provide you quantity based on SAM2. Okay. So in terms of menu method, we'll be creating menu element creation, element properties, and entity input method. And in terms of auto, you can do the auto identify, click identify, drag and drag, which don't worry, I'll go through one by one later on. Okay. So in terms of the 3D drawings, we can also import IFC files and also Revit folder. So, but in current Malaysia, right, for contractor side, right, mainly they will only get soft copy, vector PDF, and if it's lucky enough or contractor willing to buy, then they will actually get the CAD drawings. So in terms of method of modeling, let's go through the background. So the drawing type determines the method of modeling to be adopted by the user. So project type matters as well on what is the method of modeling as well. Okay, importance of resources availability and allocation. So as you can see here, our software is a quantity takeoff software. So in terms of the source of the data, right, it actually comes back to the drawings that you receive. All right, the data comes back to the drawing that you receive. So the drawing you import into our software, then we will calculate from there itself. So it comes down to pain point. Contractor QS not familiar with the method of modeling available in the Cubicost, and then hard to identify champion user for one company to allocate the resources. and then lack of confidence and practicality of work collaboration among colleagues. So these are the pain points that I was able to list down for one user. For example, a contractor who just needed to adopt to our software. These are the pain points that they will actually face, but no worries. Me as a customer success consultant will be there to help you on. All right. So without further ado, let me show you my software. What can you actually do? All right. So from here, as you can see here, this is the software that what we call TASC, which is measuring architectural and structural work. So from here itself, this is where all the projects that I've done previously. So from here, you're able to create new. By clicking on new, you can actually create a project. So for example, you key in the name of the project, for example, summer home. And then from here itself, you can actually select the rules that we wish to use. So currently, we are mainly using SIM tool, but if there's a need, we can also use MySIM, which is actually introduced in the year 2021, if I'm not wrong. But for now, majority people are using SIM2. And once you're done, press OK. So I'll actually go, demonstrate to you how our software able to help you when it comes down to measurement. All right. So I'm going to use the one of the drawing type, for example, CAD drawings. So from here itself, this is the interface that you see once you, enter to the software. It's very clean, very straightforward, and each and one of the function you can actually see clearly at the top here. All right. So the first thing we're going to do once we open up the software is where we're going to go to the floor settings here to actually, adjust the number of floors, add in the number of zones. For example, this zoning is where you have, for example, a massive building, or a massive project, a mixed development where you have 2 towers and 1 podium. When it comes down to the building, or should I say the quantity segregation, podium is 1 build, tower is another 1 build, tower 2 is another build. So this zone able to help you to cater so. And then here is where you can also input the number of floors for each and one of the zones, basically. So once you're done, you can proceed to begin modeling. So how our software actually works when it comes down to modeling is where you can add in the drawing here. So for example, I will use the structural. So as you can see here, once you're done, you can begin creating your model. So first, I will split the drawings. And once I'm done, I'll just create an axis point. And then auto identify. So let me show you the drawing. So now I'm going to demonstrate how can we actually calculate concreting for column, which is your meter cube quantity for column. So from here itself, we can just directly use this auto identify because we are using CAD drawing. So you can use pick set line. And with that said, you have successfully modeled out 34 columns with ease. So let me show you another element, which is BIM. So you go through BIM element. And with that said, matter of seconds, you're able to generate out the beams already. But of course, this is where if you are using a perfect drawings. But whereas if you're not using a perfect drawings, we also have this thing called identification check. This it will help you to do a quick checking in terms of what you have identified, what are the errors that our software able to detect. You can actually click one by one and you bring you directly to that particular beam and then show you what is the error. Like for example, there's a discrepancy here, GV5, 150 times 750, but here stated here is 200 times 750. So which one do you want to use? So for example, I choose to use 200, then you can just adjust it from here. Okay, then just check, then the error itself will be gone because that means that you have already checked it. All right, which means you already checked this error. and you already make the necessary adjustment. So for example, unnamed beam, this is an unnamed beam. So do you want to change the name? Yes, you can change it. Once you change it, you just check it. Then with that said, that error has been checked. All right. So with that said, you see, when it comes down to modeling itself, it's actually very fast. But of course, we also have a contingency plan where we allow user to have a quick method to do checking. All right. So this is how you're able to, do a quick taking off when it comes down to, if you have CAD drawing, you can use this auto-identify method to actually quick model your model. And from there itself, right, all you need to do is just calculate it. Calculate the whole model. Because once you do the model, you have to calculate, and then our software will base on the rules that we actually pre-embedded in, which is this one, what we call the measurement settings, where you will follow all these rules that you have already set accordingly. Then you'll actually generate out the quantity based on all these rules. So this rule governs the quantity that is going to be generated after on. All right. So this, in terms of measurement settings, is where you will base on for SM2, in terms of, like, for example, how you want to define above which height is considered structing height. So that's where you can actually come here to set, like, for example, starting height to judge structing height is 3.5 meter. So you can actually set this formula, this value accordingly here. In terms of measurement rule, is where you can actually set what are the deductions that you wish to make. And once you're done, you can just view quantity by category and press OK. And with that said, it will generate a table for you to see what are the quantity being captured. And in terms of checking, it's also very easy. You just have to select one of the, for example, cell, this one, we will see check model. It will bring you directly to that model itself to tell you, okay, this is the beam. This beam total quantity is 2.0, for example. Okay, and 2.0, how does the software get 2.0? You can view expression. By clicking on view expression, it will give you a detailed breakdown on each and one of the quantity. How does it actually calculated? As you can see here, meter cube. This is the description. The quantity expression. How the software actually captured those quantity. And in terms of wording, it's a bit hard to understand. You can always trigger this function, 3D deduction. This is the original quantity, and these are the beams that it deducts. So everything is very transparent. Everything is traceable. So that is where you can actually utilize our function within the software to actually quick model and get a quick quantity. But that is in terms of concrete formwork and plus finishes, which later on I'll show you if you're anyone interested to see. But now let's talk about rebar. So how can we bring in this model to rebar? Basically, to our another software, which is TRB. We can come down to BIM model. So under BIM model, right, you can actually export this model out by floor, for example. So once you export out, that's where you can actually go to your software to actually import it in. All right. So assuming that I've already imported in the model, right? So basically, this is our another software, which is what we call TRB. So TRB is mainly where you can actually capture your beams, your rebar quantity, whereas TS is focusing more on architectural and structural. So all you need to do is, for example, column. All you need to do is you just need to key in the rebar information here and calculate it, and the outcome is it will provide you a detailed breakdown on how does our software actually measure each and one of those rebar. So let it run about. So for example, let me show you in 3D. So for example, this column, I can view the detailed breakdown. How does the software actually measure for those rebar? But then again, by viewing this again, like I said, by using this kind of description, it's a little bit hard to actually understand unless you can go through the formulas accordingly. Then you can actually see how does the software actually do the calculation. Or you can actually trigger this function, which is rebar 3D. So you see, right, when you trigger this rebar 3D, it will provide you a rebar 3D, actual rebar 3D to show you how does the software actually measure. But by reading this rebar 3D, I couldn't actually understand that much also actually. But when you click on this, for example, this first expression, right, it will highlight to you how does the software actually calculate these highlighted bars. So as you can see here, back then when I was doing my degree in tailors for QSing, I have this issue. I couldn't imagine how does the rebar actually runs. But using this software, right, with the view of this rebar 3D, I'm able to actually imagine whatever the rebar that I have measured. Or with this rebar 3D, I can actually cross-check with my drawing. Did I miss anything or not? So by doing so, it's really easy for us to do checking. Okay. So other than that, it also will provide you a detailed breakdown in terms of the quantity, like what TS actually able to do so. So as you can see here, it will provide you a detailed breakdown of, for example, your wall, what is the total number of your quantity. So your beams and so on and so forth. And of course, our software also provide you a bar bending schedule for those contractors who can actually, for example, share this to your bar bender. The total length of it, what's the link size. So with that said, you can actually reduce wastage. Our software also able to do so. Okay, so that's the general concept of what can TS and TRB able to do so. So for those who would like to know more in depth, you can actually contact us, and I can actually arrange a demo session personally with you all to showcase to you all more features that how our software can actually do the taking off. But that's the general concept, how you can utilize both TS and TRB to do the measurement. All right, based on CAD drawings. So let's go proceed back to the drawings. So now we actually know that TS and TRB able to help contractor QS to actually do measurement, but how are we going to arrange the manpower? Now that is the tricky part. So from here, I have actually drawn a chart here for those contractors who actually listened to our demo before and also want to know more, how can our software actually able to help them in a much more, much more fluent process, right? So this is a chart that you all can actually see. So if you start from TES, right? So one QS that who are actually very experienced with our software, they can actually do the basic work, right? For example, creating the assist grid, setting up nicely for those measurement settings and also measurement rules, and also creating the floor settings, everything done nicely. Floor settings, assist grid, and also the measurement rules and measurement settings. These are the most important thing that you need to actually set it properly first before you do the collaboration with other QSs. So once you're done, then the main QS will share those files to, for example, QS1 podium, QS2 tower A, and then QS3 tower B. Then they will actually border based on their respective zone, okay? Respective zone, respective file. And once you're done, they can actually combine those models, these three different models into one, then export out to TRB. Then from TRB perspective, they can import the TS file. And then from there, they can either measure floor by floor based on the podium, tower A, or tower B, or they can proceed by measuring element by element, column, beam, and slab. And lastly, you can actually extract all the quantity accordingly. All right. This is where you start measurement from TAS. However, if you start your measurement from TRB itself, so it works also the same. You need to create a master file. We call it a master file. That master file also have to consist of your floor settings, your assist grid line, your calculation rules, and all these have to be done properly from one QS. Then you can share those files to all those team members that also be working with the main QS. Then once they're done, they can merge it and then they can export out and then send it over to TAS. So TAS side, they can actually import the model, and then the QS can actually continue their architectural work based on, for example, podium, basically zoning. Zone 1, which is podium, zone 2, tower A, and then zone 3, tower B. And then after that, they can calculate and then extract the quantity accordingly. So these are the two workflow methods that I will normally, I would say, advise client to adopt it, because the fluent is much more smooth, none license being wasted, everyone able to do their work in a much more, how to say, fluent way. All right. So again, set project information, create zone if it's necessary, set bottom elevation and floor height for each zone, set grade setting for each and floor zone, and then identify assist. One master file, send it to each and one of them. They can rename it and then later on merge it back. So that is the idea, that is the concept, how you can do your taking off using TAS and TRB. Now, followed by, now when it comes down to costing, just now what we talked is about measurement. Now we talk about costing. So when it comes down to background, with the quantity, the bracket, then the BQ and Cubicost generated, contractor QS have to prepare costing using productivity measurement or first principle of estimating build unit rates for self-performing works and source quotation for specialty works. After costing finalization, contractor QS will have to mark up the cost as standard bid price for submission. Pain point. Where is the base rate? Rationality of the base rate. Validity of the rate. And also, again, lack of time for insight on price analysis. So how can our software able to help you, which is what we call TBQ. So TBQ itself, right, allows user to actually build up their unit rates, basically build up the rates. So first, need to understand the build unit rates, and then compose a live link rate to BQ, check and adjust and analyze. So basically, they need to create unit rate from using our software interface, and then link those rates to build item. And then if there is a need to check and adjust, then they can actually check and adjust and then analyze after on. Now, using our live link to rates to our build items, right, there's one benefit there. There itself is where I believe that after you do your checking, and then you will find out that actually with the current rates that are priced in, right, burst budget. So with that said, I need to readjust my rate. So we talk about conventional way, right? Conventional method, right, when it comes down to adjustment of rate, right, is very time consuming one. Why? Reason being, because you already adjust, adjust one rate, you have to go through all your bills, right, to actually make sure that the rate that you adjust got linked to another bill items or not. Then you need to go through one by one to actually check it and then readjust it. Whereas all you need to do in TBQ, what you're going to do is you just adjust the rate in what we call the build unit rates here. Whatever bill item that you have really live linked with this particular rate will automatically adjust it accordingly. So when it comes down to that, right, human error can be reduced. Whereas conventional way, the human error is actually quite high. But by using our software, that error itself can be reduced. All right. So how do you actually build up those rates in our TBQ software? Basically, this is unit rate. And when it comes down to unit rate, what does it actually consist of? All right. Mostly comes down to the material, labor, and also equipment. But then using our unit rates, we have three types of methods that we will introduce to you how to build up those rates. So first of all is all-in rates. So just input an all-in rate to total adjust rate to form an all-in unit rate. And then for those who wants to break it down by material, labor, and equipment, they can use this method. You can use input total material, labor, and equipment cost to form unit rate. But this one is in terms of lump sum for material, lump sum for labor, and also lump sum for equipment. But for contractor side, or should I say subcon, they are much more specific, they're much more detailed. They also can break it down, like for example, material A plus material B plus labor A plus labor B plus equipment A plus equipment B, then only form unit rates. So these three methods, right, can also be done using our software. But then again, let me demonstrate this bottom part for you by viewing this video. So you can actually create the net rate first, the unit rate here. Then you can key in a lump sum. So for example, sub-item, raw material, labor, and then equipment. So you can actually break it down like this. So this is a very common method that I normally advise our contractor when they're very particular on their unit rate, they require to break down in a very detailed manner, raw material A plus raw material B equals plus label A, label B, then then your equipment A, equipment B, to only then form your unit rate. This one is not, I would say, oftenly used by our contractor QSs, and this is how we also advise them on how to actually create it. Okay. So by creating this, right, yes, some of you may find it very time consuming. However, it's okay. You can also reuse your data that you have done previously in Excel format. So you can actually bring those information from Excel to our software, and then utilize those data to do your pricing. So no issue at all. Or you can also enter to our so-called 𝗔𝗯𝐶𝘂𝘁, where designated tools to access the 𝗔𝗯𝐶𝘂𝘁 National Construction Cost Center web portal to check for latest trustworthy national cost data. And of course, lastly, if you were to use this build-up unit rate, they will provide you a price analysis to help you to do pricing in the near future. It's much more, give you an analysis to help you to refer to when it comes down to future project. You can refer to this data to pricing a much more competitive rate. So support 2 dimension of analysis, last modified date and tender date. Interactive graph allows you to show and hide data easily, and data is shown in tabulation to enable user to snap the screen conveniently. So interactive and more detailed. All right. So this is a standard workflow that normally we will advise client to do so. So identify from Excel, and then build your new rates, and then import from project to your resource library. And then once you've done this process, you can bring this resource library and then import into your future projects. And from that itself, you don't have to create those unit rates from scratch. You can apply that base to your multiple projects in the future. And then of course, those rates that you copy over can be adjusted based on that date market price value. All right. So if for those who actually utilize e-tender, they can actually bid for using our TBQ software. So for those contractors who actually deals with consultant QS that actually utilize our software, right, they will receive a BQD file. So once they receive a BQD file, they can actually upload into our TBQ software or to our web page, and then price it, and then submit back to the consultant, which is a BQS file. All right, there's 2 different workflow. So one with the e-tender contractor, which is they do not purchase our TBQ software. All they need to do is open the website, log in e-tender, import the BQD file, fill in the quotation, and then submit back by using BQS. And then for those who are using our software, they just need to upload this one into TBQ software, build out the price, fill in the quotation, and submit it. So the flow is very smooth. Okay, so now I will focus more on, that will be the pre-contract part. Now I'll focus more on the post-contract. So let me open up back my software, and let me open up a model file that's much more complete, that I can show you the post-contract workflow. So when it comes down to post-contract, right, because just now I have covered majority of the pre-contract, how can our software able to help you? Now, let's talk about post-contract, because due to the time constraint, I will directly show you through modeling, how can we actually do post-contract in our software. So for now, let me go to ground floor. All right, so this is a model that I've created, which is a normal 3-story bungalow. This is a 3-story bungalow. So how can I do a post-contract item, such as, like, for example, progress claim? Okay, for example, progress claim. So for example, segmentation. So in our software, we actually have this thing called segmentation. So from here itself, we have 4 types: construction zone, subcontracting, customer, and progress claim. So oftenly, we will share, like, our contractor QS will actually utilize our progress claim. So for example, progress claim. So this is where you can select the trade or work that you wish to claim under this first progress claim. So for example, or press OK. So from there itself, you can highlight what the area that you're going to claim under progress claim number 1. Then the following month, you wish to do progress claim number 2, you can just create all trade again. Then you just highlight again. But before I highlight, you can also change the color. You can change the color. You can change it to a different color, for example, green color. Then you can highlight that respective area. And don't worry, when there's overlapping area, right, they will not allow you to overlap it on. They will help you to remove those areas. Okay, so this is one of the methods that you can actually, generate your progress claim, in a sense that after you calculate, right, you can view how does our software actually calculate. For example, once it's done, let me open up one of the elements, then you can view how does the software actually calculate. So for example, this one. So as you can see here, it will tell you 44% is actually captured under progress claim number 1. And then progress claim number 2 will be the 53%. And then the remaining one will be 2% that yet to be captured yet. So our contractor QS can actually utilize this feature to actually prepare their progress claim. So this is one of the methods that they can actually use to actually prepare their progress claim, but there's also other methods that they can use. So another type will be, for example, your column. So for progress claim number 1, they claim concreting first, then for work, then progress claim number 2, they only claim concrete. So how can we do that? So first of all, we can actually use this feature. We can use this feature, which is set associated segmentation. So simply by selecting, for example, column, for example, this column, you want to segmentation, and we hide all the finishes. All right. So for example, this column, I wish to claim progress claim number 1 for the formwork, then concrete for progress claim number 2. Also can be done. This is the second method where we can actually do claim by trade. And lastly, we can also, for vertical element, we can also do by percentage. So for example, defined by work done, progress claim number 1 is 40%, and then progress claim number 2 is remaining 60%. Also can be done. So for example, let me calculate it. Your expression. So as you can see here, oops, I did it in a way that I should have delete off this progress claim. %. Progress claim number 2 is 60%. All right, press OK. And as you can see here, your expression. Let me calculate once more. Will show you 40% progress claim number 1 and 60% for progress claim number 2. So this is where our contractor QS will tend to use this feature to actually do their progress claim. And of course, when it comes down to progress claim, you need to submit proof. So you can actually use the BIM model, save as those pictures. But what kind of picture they can be saved? So for example, you can utilize this feature, check segmentation, progress claim number 1. I want to see all the progress claim number 1 claim. Like for example, this one, this orange color one, right, is actually claim under progress claim number 1. Let me show you progress claim number 2, much more better. So this area, this particular column, top part 60% is actually part under progress claim number 2. So these are the things that we have actually been captured in this progress claim number 2. You can save as a picture and submit with your claim. And so that's how our contractor QS can actually utilize this feature to do their progress claim when it comes down to post-contracting work. And lastly, also, if those users who have, like, for example, revision, like for example, change of design, but then again, you want to do a comparison after that, they can also use this feature, which is create one revision, calculate, for example, because you need to have a base quantity. So let me calculate. Once you're done, then, for example, let me do some minor adjustment towards the model so that you can see the difference. And just finish it. Once you've done some adjustment towards the model, you can finish it. Then, of course, you need to calculate again. Okay, then you can use this feature, which is view change quantity. It will actually show you a clear cut, right? For example, ground floor column. Will show you what is the before and what's the after revision and what are the changes. So when it comes down to, like, for example, there's comparison between two different designs. After you make adjustment, what is the impact? All this can be done using our software. When it comes down to, like, for example, change of design, and then you want to keep a base, and then you want to do comparison, can be done using our software. All right. So let me return back to the slides. So let us go towards the end because the time is limited. So lastly will be the final remeasurement. So conventional way, you have drawing, menu sorted out, and then different measurement method, new QS measurement element by element, and then no 3D visualization, manual Excel data sorting, bungalow unit 2 weeks completion. So this is more on the conventional way workflow. But when it comes down to, if we were to use our method, Cubicost revision function can be done, and then we are embedded with the local rules, which is SM2 and British standard. And then UQS cover all measurement in one floor. There's no like two separate spreadsheet. And then can be done by 2D visualization or even 3D. And then automated data sorting. And lastly, right, the most important part, I think, when it comes down to time, right, you can see a big difference between the time. All right. So these are the benefits that I actually able to sort out. So drive from model, minimize area, rapid response, and then communicate and report. Everyone understand the information coming out from model-driven process, leverage integration, seamless information have precedence on task to task, capability and control. Everyone managed to answer the question. So this is the general idea how a contractor able to utilize our software to actually embed into their daily work basically, and hopefully able to help them to increase their efficiency. So with that said, that will be my presentation. Again, if for those who are interested using on our software, feel free to contact me. If we can host a demo to your company and to show you in much more in detail concept in terms of how our software able to help you in each and one of the stages. And if you have also more inquiries you wish to ask, you can also feel free to contact us. All right. So with that said, I'll pass back to our host, which is Azila.
Thank you very much, Chester. Wow. Because me, myself, as a planner, I'll do very interested in those progress because I do have problem with those progress reports, progress claim. And yes, it is interesting. And okay, maybe we have a bit of time to ask around if there any question from the floor. Please feel free. All right. We have one first question from the floor. This is from Irene. Good afternoon, Chester. Appreciate that if you could explain the process of integrating cost and schedule data into 3D BIM model.
Okay, sure, no problem. So basically, I think everyone will like, for example, those project manager would like to know that how can our software can able to help you when it comes down to schedule data and so on and so forth. So again, our software is mainly focused on the 5D BIM solution. So when it comes down to that, we do have a little bit of solution that you can actually utilize. Like for example, wall. There's a section here that you can actually key in, like for example, construction attribute here. You can key in those relevant information, like for example, subcontracting. Let me expand it bigger. Schedule start there, schedule end there, actual start there, and actual end there. Basically, these are the information that you can actually utilize it. And then once you key in here, right, if you wish to, view it back in your quantity, right, yes, you can. So for example, let me show you, right, let me show you subcontracting, for example, testing. So once you're done, make sure you calculate the whole model. Oh, sorry, I should just calculate the whole model. Okay, then under view quantity by category, ground force. Then under wall, for example, you can set here, you wish to view subcontracting. Just now what I did was, yeah, so I move it up. Okay, then you will actually reflect here. So these are the things that you can actually utilize when it comes down to more like schedule data and so on and so forth. Like I said, it's more to 5D BIM lah. It's not more on, like, for example, nowadays we also receive a lot of feedback in terms like, is there any solution that you can actually governs the whole the construction from start to the end more to project management type of software. So with that said, I hope that this one is able to actually help you on that. All right.
All right, thank you very much, Esther, for the explanation. Quick one. How long does it takes to be, it's not as good as you or better than you by using this software?
I beg your pardon?
How long does it takes to be maybe not as good as you, as fast as you can go around with this software? Does it take a long time to master this software?
Now that's I think that's the biggest issue in the market when it comes down to when we're trying to actually adopt a new solution. So my answer to that question is actually comes down to each and one of your the willingness to actually wants to adopt a new solution, right? Because one person who wish to adopt this solution and also believe that this solution able to help you in terms of increase your efficiency, you will have that, you'll play more with it, you'll test more with it. Then when it comes down to that, it's much more easier and faster for you to actually capture the whole concept. How does this solution actually works? That's my comment.
All right. Okay, we have few questions. We have one question. May I know, be you able to generate the elements cost analysis based on tenderer submission?
May I know TBQ able to generate the elemental cost analysis based on tender submission? Now that is a very good question. So it depends on what kind of detailed analysis that you wish to see that. But then again, our software do provide you a form of analysis that maybe it suits you, or maybe it does not help you. So we can see, it depends. I would say it depends on what kind of analysis you wish to see. So if you are interested to know more about it, you can also contact us, and then we can actually sit down and see whether the analysis that our software able to provide actually suits you or not. Because you see, as you know, solution that we have in the market, or should I say out there, right? We are trying to standardize all those flows that can be standardized. But then again, some things that a certain company wants may not be another company needs. So with that said itself, we may not able to provide you, but we would like to see what kind of analysis you wish to see. Then we'll try to show you what kind of analysis that our software able to provide you and see whether is it suitable for you or not.
Right, clear enough, understand. Is there any limitation with respect to the use of the software across the globe? This is from Wilson.
Is there any limitation with respect to use of the software across the globe? What I would say is that, for example, we code it this way, limitation, there will be bound to have limitations. It's just that whether is there any workaround method for it or not. All right, like for example, okay, let's quote Singapore and Malaysia. One of it, Singapore has their own rules and Malaysia have their own rules. So our workaround method is that we try to embed as much we compare between Malaysia and Singapore rules, what's the difference, and then we create another rules just mainly for Singapore. So it depends. So I would say is that those kind of limitations, they'll be bound to have it, but see whether we can play around with it or can we, our developer able to, I would say, customize the software based on that, on the needs of that particular country or whatnot. So this is my answer to you.
All right. All right. I think we have time for one more question. This is from Vinny. Good afternoon, Chester. I would like to know how does 5D BIM helps in cost estimation and control?
I see. Okay, so 5D BIM solution, right, comes down to costing, right? So when it comes down to costing, you need to have quantity times with your rates, then equals to your amount. Basically, that's the whole concept, correct? So how can our software able to help you? First, they can help you in terms of the quantity side. The quantity side, right, is very net. It's very, very net. They won't, in the conventional way of QS, right, what we will do is that we will tend to allow, but then again, our side, right, is very net. And then once with that said, that's quantity side. But when it comes down to costing side, right, you can actually, how to say, build out your unit rates in detail, how you want to play around with your, for example, your materials, your equipments, and also your labels. That one you can actually play around with those rates. And then once you're done, you form your unit rates, and then you can also mark up, mark down your unit rates. And from there, link it to your build items. From there itself, you can also control, right? So for example, this unit rate for CC30, you find out it's too high. You just a quick adjust, you're directly able to view the outcome. So this itself, right, can help you in terms of a better control because you can directly see the results once this adjustment being made. So that's how this TS, TRB, TBQ able to help you with it.
All right, thank you very much. I think we have to stop now with some few questions that we are unable to address. We will would like to address all your questions after this. I will pass to Chester through the emails, and I think Chester will gladly answer all your questions. With that, our BrainHuddle session has come to the end. Thank you again for joining us today, and thank you very much to our speaker, Chester, for the very fruitful session. PLDC organized BrainHuddle webinar for free each month. So if you like to join our future session or event, be sure to follow us on all social channels that are listed down in the chat, and we hope to see you again soon. Thank you very much and have a good day, everybody. Bye. Thank you, Chester.
Welcome. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.